Hello and welcome to or back to my channel. Today we are going to review chapter 9 of Michelle Easton's How to Raise a Conservative Daughter. And I have to say, this is a very comprehensive book. I mean, granted, it's the only parenting book I've read, but I mean, it goes from childhood to college years, so very comprehensive. Anyway, I recommend everyone grab a beverage. My beverage of choice is Earl Grey from Trader Joe's. And let's just dive on in and get this over with. Campus activism isn't just for feminists. When parents raise their daughter to be conservative, they instill a healthy approach to life. Girls become stronger, freer, and more self-reliant. They thrive knowing who they are, where they come from, and what matters. But to what effect? It's perfectly fine for a young woman to keep her beliefs to herself once she's matured past the rigors and rules of childhood. Sharing the message, however, will create the change America so badly needs. The stakes are high. The left is well-funded and well-organized. Really, because from where I'm sitting, it's very easy for someone on the right to be funded and have tons of subscribers and followers and to become verified and all that. But yeah, sure, let's keep that persecution complex going. It's also small in number, but manages to dominate the culture. Ground zero is the university system. In many ways, it serves as an indoctrination incubator for wave upon wave of activists who graduate and move into media, government, education, law, and other influential institutions. We cannot afford to cede territory on college campuses anymore. Yes, they were so thoughtful to move aside and let the left take over college campuses. This is really something because they're making it sound like we're in a war. We cannot cede territory. It's an indoctrination incubator, dominating the culture, well-funded, well-organized. The good news is that we can fight with grace and integrity. Conservative girls can be activists too. Really, I had no idea. Your daughter doesn't have to morph into a screeching, man-hating, America-hating banshee to get her point across. She doesn't have to adopt the tactics of radical feminism to combat radical feminists. That's not what conservatives do. We adhere to principles. We revere the Constitution that limits the power of government, salute the flag, and obey the rule of law. We learn our arguments and we stand up for our beliefs. I kind of feel like if they truly have arguments, they would all be individual ones instead of all trying to learn the same arguments. We win by remaining true to ourselves and by changing hearts and minds, not by rioting, intimidating, and silencing those who disagree. Parents can rest assured that there are plenty of people and organizations ready to support their daughter on her journey from student to student activist and beyond. Really? But I thought there had been a takeover. There is safety in numbers and exponential growth in campus communities with shared values. Joining a conservative group and realizing that I could affect positive change are what sparked my activism many years ago. It's also what prompted the founding of the Claire Booth Luce Center for Conservative Women. There are a number of wonderful conservative-leaning colleges you may want to consider for your daughter. My third son went to Hillsdale College in Michigan, while my other two boys went to colleges in Ohio, New York, and Washington, D.C. If I had to do it over again, I would say to them all in their senior year of high school, you can go to Hillsdale or you can go to work. It is that much better, academically and socially. So Hillsdale College is a private, conservative, liberal arts college in Hillsdale, Michigan. A few of the other good, conservative-friendly colleges I would recommend include Grove City College, College of the Ozarks, Liberty University, and Franciscan University of Steubenville. Many schools like Notre Dame and William & Mary have a reputation for being conservative, but they are not. I know too many conservative activist students who have been condemned, harassed, and shut down at these and other similar schools. But, okay, so two things here. One, you only want your children to go to colleges that share their beliefs, but how is that going to help them grow as a person and also learn how to counter when someone challenges their beliefs? I mean, if no one ever challenges them, or is that what they're afraid of, that someone will challenge them and they'll realize they won't have an argument and then they'll be swayed? I'm now very curious as to her children. Are they all conservatives like her? Or, I mean, also classically, Abby, who recommended this book, also recommends going to a college that one, isn't too far from your family, and two, that shares your beliefs. So this kind of makes sense that she recommends this book. But also, what would the point be of doing campus activism if the campus you're on already agrees with everything that you believe? How are you going to change minds if everyone around you believes the same thing? Some parents may think it is more prestigious for their daughter to attend a well-known school. And who knows, conservative parents and family may be proud that their daughter was admitted to Wellesley or Smith College. But they may also spend the rest of their life ruining the day she became a Wellesley liberal like Hillary Clinton, who started college as a conservative Goldwater girl. So there's nothing wrong with changing your beliefs as you grow older and have more experiences and learn to see things from others' point of view. Also, Isn't it more important that you raise a good person, not what political beliefs said person has, but that you raise a good person who cares about other people and their community and society as a whole? I mean, is that not the main thing that parents should want to do? The truth is that if these prestigious schools were doing their jobs and educating our daughters well, this book wouldn't have to be written. Prestigious schools have failed us, but most people are in denial about what happens to their daughters at those schools. These schools have transformed our country in a way that is not desirable. So she is really encouraging people to draw the wagons round to keep out outsiders. In the years these schools have been expanded and lavishly funded, our daughters have had more abortions, more failed marriages, and more self-doubt. Michelle says, our daughters have had more abortions when the abortion rate has actually been falling for years. And she says more failed marriages when the divorce rate has also been falling for years. So I don't like to swear, but I will make another exception like I did for Classically Abby and say, Michelle, you are full of shit. Instead of a strong, confident woman, suddenly we have way too many whiners. I have not been impressed by any of the schools that emphasize race, class, and gender in admissions, hiring faculty and staff, housing, and other school processes. Young people are more favorable to socialism because colleges refuse to teach the disastrous side of Marxism. How does she know what schools teach? It's been a few decades since her children have been in school, and even more decades since she has been in school. And there's no possible way you can know what every single school teaches. There is just no substitute for reading freedom-oriented literature, and they clearly don't get the well-rounded education that fully informs them in this way at most colleges. So if a college is conservative, wouldn't that mean they're teaching the conservative side only and not giving a well-rounded education? If a college is like, hey, we're a liberal college, we're a conservative college, I would assume they're teaching that particular way and thus not giving someone a well-rounded education. I would be more likely to hire a young woman who graduated from Hillsdale for my staff than a Duke graduate. The conservative-leaning colleges are a better choice for your daughter and will give her a high-quality path for her future. So she really essentially just cares about your political beliefs and not the quality of your education, which I guess makes sense since she does have a conservative group. So of course she only wants to hire conservatives to work there. I do know a few girls who make it through the prestigious Ivies with their conservatism intact. They are among the best and strongest of our conservative women leaders. Isn't that what you want? Or is it just too risky because they might not continue to believe in conservatism after they've gone through this schooling? All the lessons discussed thus far add up to a developed sense of personal values, but if they're never challenged, then how are they personal? The next step is for your daughter to put them into action and to get out there and advance what she believes. But how? I've never led like a rally or a protest or anything like that. But I imagine it's very different if you're like bringing in someone who shares your views and also the views of the majority of people at your school. There will be times when raising a hand in class to offer a dissenting point of view will be a courageous decision. But Michelle's advocating for your daughter to go to a school that is going to teach the things that she already believes, so it wouldn't be a courageous decision. Maybe she'll bring a conservative speaker to campus and cause a stir. So Michelle's giving mixed messages right now. Does she want the daughter to go to like a liberal school and try to sway people to conservatism, or does she want the daughter to go to a conservative school and stay conservative? But standing up at the right time is what activism and leadership are all about. That's how change is created. After all, what's the point of having values if you hide them when they are needed most? Another brief story. I was viciously attacked for my beliefs for the first time in 1972. Radical feminism was ascendant, and America's cultural revolution was in full swing. The experience is seared into my memory. I was a senior at Briarcliff College in Briarcliff Manor, New York. Senator George McGovern was challenging President Richard Nixon in an upcoming presidential election, and I had decided to get involved. I had spent the previous year studying abroad at the University of London and had seen socialism up close. I recognized similar themes in the McGovern campaign and was determined to make a difference. Not that I was a Nixon fan. Why do I have a feeling that back then she was a Nixon fan, and it's just now that Nixon disgraced himself with Watergate that she's like, I campaigned for him, but I wasn't a fan of him. I formed a Young Americans for Freedom chapter at school and participated in a Youth Against McGovern effort. I invited students to hear a YAF speaker against McGovern, and I made a flyer with McGovern's picture that includes some controversial quotes, then passed them out and put them in mailboxes. It was nothing Youth Against Nixon wasn't doing. Walking down the hall one day, a sociology professor approached me out of nowhere. She was furious. She backed me into a corner and began berating me. How dare you, she yelled. How could you say these things about George McGovern? Why would you make a flyer? I was shocked into silence. She had assumed the worst about me, as if my views were illegitimate and I had no right to express them. So people began to watch, people were listening and looking, it was awful. I can still see her triggered expression when she stormed away in anger as I started to speak. I was just starting to think that I could be a leader, that I could speak up for conservative ideas, and an adult who was supposed to further my development wanted to stifle it. That confrontation presented me with a choice. Either I would stand up, share my beliefs, and defend myself, or I would melt from the embarrassment and hide. I still remember that moment vividly all these years later. You can probably guess my decision. I was raised to work hard and get in there and fight, so that's what I did. I did what I thought was right. I got attacked for it, and even though it was unfair and hurtful, I got over it and grew emboldened. Nearly 50 years later, that event continues to motivate me. There is gold on the other side of the dragon. Campus bullies can't win if your daughter shares her beliefs and continues the good fight. So I just want to say that no teacher should attack a student for sharing their beliefs. All shapes and sizes. Just as many different instruments played together in an orchestra to create a single piece of music, girls of all backgrounds, strengths, and personalities can play a role in advancing the symphony of conservative ideas. We can't all be alpha women who take center stage and field the slings and arrows of our opponents. Some girls are shy and may be more effective behind the scenes. There's nothing wrong with that. The movement needs everybody. Parents can help by encouraging their daughter to step out of her comfort zone in accordance with her natural gifts. Keep in mind that younger generations have developed differently. It seems every parent or grandparent has to tell young people how much harder they had it when they were coming up. But there is a noticeable trait in millennials who were born from 1977 to 1996 and Generation Z young people born from 1997 on. When it comes to activism, many students lack initiative. They are much less willing to take risks. They have to be encouraged to get out and do things. It's not their fault as much as the result of growing up with the internet. Hardly a moment passes when young adults aren't tethered to their smartphones. Selfies and social media are a vain distraction, but the real obstacle is cancel culture. Cancel culture is defined as withdrawing or canceling support for people or companies after they have done or said something the left disagrees with. Yeah, because the right never cancels anybody. I'll just say 2 words. Dixie Chicks. Kids know what can happen if they are unlucky enough to be targeted by an online mob. Cyberbullying is a nasty business, and keyboard cowards sometimes attack to get mob victims socially, academically, and professionally canceled. You don't even have to do anything wrong. A false accusation or manipulated cell phone video can go viral and ruin a child's reputation before she even gets started in life. It's unlikely that your daughter would ever face such abuse, but kids have seen it happen online, and the threat goes a long way towards creating a passive mindset. Fear is a powerful emotion, and the left thrives on scaring people into silence. Well, technically, Michelle is scaring people. I still don't agree with fear-mongering, left or right. And also, I think fear-mongering is vastly overplayed because the more people fear-monger, the less you take it seriously. Good overcomes evil, and the consequences that come from standing up against injustice are a badge of honor. Parents cannot motivate their daughter into action by appealing to her sense of service. What about setting an example by, doing it themselves? As a rule, younger people tend to be more committed to service. They far outshine the so-called me generation. Who's the me generation? In the words of Senator Barry Goldwater, there is no greater service to this country than the defense of its freedom. It is very interesting how they say that America is just so great, so wonderful, the best country on earth, but our freedom is apparently so tenuous. Bringing a conservative speaker to campus. The number one activity for spreading conservative values on a college campus is to organize a speaker event. I know because I have seen the results time and again. It's also what launched my passion to step into the arena of ideas back when I was in college. There has never been more support for girls to lead a conservative lecture event than there is today, and the benefits are immense, but I thought the conservatives were so put upon and persecuted. I studied to be a teacher, but the experience made me want to spend my career promoting conservative ideas. Campus lectures definitely make a difference, not just for your daughter, but also for those who may never otherwise hear a conservative point of view at school. So then you don't want them to go to conservative schools, because what's the point of organizing a conservative speaker to come to a conservative school? Every intern who applies to the Claire Booth Luce Center has to commit to organizing a live speaker event. That's how important it is. We train young women, we fund their events, and we support them through the process. And this is what I was talking about when I noted in my Classically Abby teaches me how to be a lady and how to flirt video about how they are very well funded and they are very well organized. They know what they are going for and they go for it. So she shares some stories about some young women who work at Claire Booth Luce or as an intern there, one or the other. Without exception, girls who step out of the usual undergrad comfort zone, do all the work, and take on the responsibilities and challenges of putting on campus lectures move on to greater and extremely satisfying professional success in their lives. Well, I have no doubt that's true. In addition to personal growth and influence other students, these events can also benefit liberal professors. Many will disagree with what they hear, but some may prioritize their intellectual curiosity over their politics. College campuses are left-leaning to be sure, but not everyone is a radical feminist. Unlike modern, tribal leftist activities, some old-school liberals can maintain the ability to engage across ideological lines. Your daughter can help stimulate good faith debate by introducing conservative experts who would normally get short shrift. If she doesn't, who will? We all know that the University of California, Berkeley is about as radical as the campus community gets in the United States. Well, we had a young woman named Victoria who developed a positive academic relationship with a Berkeley professor during a public affairs class. She convinced him to allow her to have a Luce Center woman speaker give a conservative-oriented lecture in the tradition of hearing diverse points of view. It turns out she made an impression. Now this professor invites Luce to send conservative female speakers once or twice a year to his mandatory class of 500 students, many of whom have never heard an actual conservative woman speak. It all started because Victoria identified an open-minded professor and took initiative. Putting on a campus lecture is so important developmentally for a young woman. She learns how to deal with a relative celebrity, which most of the speakers are. Does that mean classically Abby is now a celebrity? The speaker has established herself professionally, so it shows her daughter how she might advance herself. It breaks the isolation of left-wing dominance on campus, which can be overwhelming and depressing. It gives her a lifelong contact with a speaker in Washington, D.C., in business, in the conservative movement, or wherever the speaker is from. Getting connected. Speaker events are catalysts for change, but they are not the only way to get involved. The beauty of conservative activism is that there are virtually unlimited opportunities for girls to advance their principles in university settings where progressives and liberals dominate. Just being a known American exceptionalist, for example, is an act of principled dissent. When your daughter knows her arguments, is prepared for debate, and has the courage to express her beliefs in appropriate moments, she is a force for change. But girls need to go deeper. They need to organize and maintain a visual presence on campus. We support female students who would like to experience a supervised trip to a gun range, for example. Rather than your typical protest, putting beliefs into action is what activism is really all about, even if it's something new and exciting. Many college girls have never seen a gun before. They may be scared, which is completely understandable, or have preconceived notions. I was scared the first time I went to learn how to use a weapon and learn safety rules at a gun range. But what better way is there to teach them about firearm safety, self-defense, and their rights? They literally experience, as I did, the empowerment that comes from being able to protect themselves and their loved ones when police don't get there in time, as opposed to phony feminist empowerment schemes that turn girls into raving victims. If feminists are so worried about women being treated as defenseless, dependent, second-class citizens, then they should invest more energy in supporting the Second Amendment. It doesn't happen because campus feminism is more about left-wing policy advancement than anything else. How does she suggest we support the Second Amendment anyway? Also, I think there's a lot of misconception about what people who want more gun regulation actually want. Very few people actually say we should repeal the Second Amendment. Once a young woman uses a firearm in a controlled environment with a trained instructor, she is more likely to know the wisdom of the founders on an issue that is demonized by college liberals and the news media. The negative stereotypes fall away, and your daughter may learn to question government intrusion in this area of her constitutional rights if she hasn't already. Consider encouraging your daughter to join a group and invite a liberal friend to a fun excursion. So, I agree that if you're going to handle a gun, you should, learn how to handle it properly and learn about gun safety and all that. But does Michelle really believe that anyone should have access to a gun at any time? Another great activity is the annual March for Life rally in Washington, D.C., or one of the many local offshoots around the country. I'm quietly amused that we go from talking about guns to talking about the pro-life movement. The left keeps a stranglehold on the abortion issue within its ranks, so seeing sonogram pictures and learning about suppressed information like the relentless nature of the abortion mills in African American communities has the potential to break through. Conservatives have made huge pro-life gains in recent years because of female activists speaking up for life. Your daughter could also expose the happy, positive aspects of conservative activism to those who are unfamiliar with the movement. It never ceases to amaze me how activists differ on the left and right. We don't have violent extremists like Antifa's Marxists on our side. We have the Tea Party, which handed out pocket constitutions and picked up trash after their permitted protests. We don't riot, loot, deface historic statues, or spew venom at police officers. I just want to say this book was published in July 2021. Campus leftists used to spit at service members returning home from combat during the Vietnam War era when I was an undergraduate from 1968 to 1972. That nastiness is unthinkable for conservatives, and your daughter could help highlight the divide by bringing friends to help them see and understand the differences. If conservative activism is so great, then aren't we always then exposed to the happy, positive aspects of it? If radical feminists want to be miserable and act unhinged, that's their business. Your daughter is entitled to have a great time advancing freedom and helping others experience the same. Schedule activities and get involved. One of the best ways to get going is to schedule a calendar of activist events. The March for Life is in January, so parents can remind their daughter about the annual pro-life celebration in advance and help her earn a trip to Washington, D.C. Parents can also encourage their daughter to connect with organized pro-life groups on campus and make posters, flyers, social media posts, and other supportive measures. I find it very weird that parents would be reminding their daughter who's away at college to do activities, but okay. February is an opportunity to celebrate St. Valentine's Day. Parents might wonder who in the world doesn't like St. Valentine's Day, but they might be surprised to discover that feminists intentionally target the holiday because it represents traditional ideas about love, affection, marriage, romance, and beauty. Universities often host renditions of Eve Ensler's disgusting episodic play of the Vagina Monologues in February as an unseemly rejection of wholesome values. It's a radical feminist extravaganza that I don't recommend for the faint of heart. Your daughter could take part in reclaiming the occasion by hosting an alternative event at her school or just openly celebrating the intellect, strength, integrity, and spirit of conservative women. Well, I have never before heard of Valentine's Day being targeted by feminists, but okay. Oh, crap. I would always make cupcakes and stuff with a little heart theme for my friends on Valentine's Day. Am I doing feminism wrong? Each year, usually in February or early March, the Conservative Political Action Conference is held. I helped found this conference and get it started back in the 1970s. CPAC is not exactly like it used to be, where students dominating hotels were lower priced. It has become a bit more like a trade show, but the Luce Center has a presence at CPAC every year. March is Women's History Month. It's outrageous how the contributions and concerns of conservative women are filtered out of the annual history campaign. It's as if we don't exist. But as happy warriors, girls can take advantage of the opportunity instead of shrugging their shoulders and claiming victimhood. I'm reminded of what the great conservative pundit Charles Krauthammer once said about the juggernaut success of Fox News. He said the genius of Fox was that it served an untapped niche market in news broadcasting, half the American people. Parents can encourage their daughter to get involved by planning a week of highlighting different conservative women. Every year, the Luce Center puts out a beautiful Great American Conservative Women calendar with photos and quotes each month from 12 women leaders who are involved with us. Girls can further hold events that debunk common myths like the wage gap while showing how traditional women are thriving in society. September is a chance to memorialize the heroes and victims of the September 11, 2001 terrorist attacks. There was so much bravery amid such a terrible tragedy, and many of our best and brightest men and women volunteered to join the military and do something about it. Why not take the opportunity to champion them? Your daughter could help organize a Support the Troops week and collect care package items and thank you cards to send active military members serving overseas. Before the close of the fall semester in December, make sure your daughter wishes everyone on campus. That is so weird to me, telling your technically adult daughter what to do when she's away at college. Okay. All right. I mean, that's like saying to your 18-year-old, remember, say please and thank you. Make sure your daughter wishes everyone on campus a Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah. It's amazing how those words can ruffle liberal feathers. Michelle is really not trying very hard here. I mean, if someone wishes me a Merry Christmas, I really don't care. I will wish them a Merry Christmas in return. But I'm not going to take offense if someone says Happy Holidays to me because that is stupid. Encourage your daughter to incorporate the meaning of Christmas into her classroom conversations and assignments. I feel like this is kind of like a book about how to make your daughter have no friends except for conservative friends, because if someone was using every opportunity to speak to me as like a lecturing opportunity, that would get old really fast. And if she really wants to go for it, tell her to send a Merry Christmas greeting card from her campus club group to the American Civil Liberties Union. Is that supposed to do something? Girls can also remain active over the summer months by preparing for leadership roles in upcoming semesters and putting their acquired knowledge to use by writing blog posts and news editorials. At a minimum, your daughter should engage a strong summer reading list. Parents can help their daughter apply for summer internships with organizations that take her activism to a new level, while having fun, of course. The Luce Center offers paid fall, spring, and summer internships for young women students who are leaders or want to be leaders of their college. I am glad that they offer paid internships. When the new school year rolls around in August, parents can encourage her to join a conservative group if she hasn't already and invite her friends. Another option is to start her own group. These parents are way too involved in their adult daughter's life. It's like they don't trust said daughter to remain conservative if they don't try to gear her towards conservative activities. It's really weird. Activism can have costs, and that's okay. Let's talk about risk. No parent wants his or her daughter to experience pain. Leadership is tough but rewarding, and it comes with a cost when you are doing it right. There are degrees of activism, as we have discussed, but the left generally feels entitled to lash out regardless. Often, the person will have the support of thousands in the school administration. I would never encourage a female student to put her physical safety at risk, nor would I ever encourage getting arrested. But insults, unfairness, and discrimination can be part of the process. Let me describe a worst-case scenario. One of our interns was tabling or standing at a table on campus with brochures, flyers, and other materials about our conservative club's policies and events. It's a relatively low-level form of activism, but it's important, and she had every right to be there. A group of about 30 angry students approached and started badgering her. That turned into screaming and throwing her materials onto the ground. She was terrified. People called her horrible names and falsely accused her of bad things like racism. They made her cry. It was awful. It was wrong, and the aggressive students acted with impunity. Can you imagine the consequences of a large group of conservative creative feminists that way? But the story doesn't end there. The young woman left the scene shaken and scared and sought the comfort of her friends and conservative confidants. She received unconditional care and support. And once she moved through the experience, she became more determined. The young lady grew so resolved that she became a passionate activist, and she is now a chapter president for Young Americans for Freedom and is active with the Luce Center. The lesson is that bullies and thugs only win if we quit or silence ourselves. Yes, the brave female student was accosted, and I would never wish that on anyone. But she grew as an activist leader and woman as a result of how she handled it. She became more confident and braver. Now she's inspiring other women. So I do agree that if someone is politely, respectfully, advertising their views, don't attack them for it. That is dumb and frankly makes you look bad. Professors are also known to take cheap shots, but girls should be encouraged to hold their heads high while picking and choosing their battles. One intern described how a particular professor would single her out because of her views. He would call on her and expect her to defend against his prejudices as if she spoke for all conservatives. But isn't that what they want? To have your views challenged so that you can strengthen your resolve and possibly educate said professor? The left wants to shield female students with safe spaces and suppression of alternative views. This is an implicit admission of intellectual failure. I'm getting a very mixed message from this chapter because on one hand it's like, go spread your views, be challenged, maybe you could change someone's mind. But then it's also, go to a conservative college because if you go to a leftist college, you might not be a conservative by the time you're done with your schooling. Tell your daughter to use good judgment and that you support her no matter what. Let her know that standing up for beliefs is honorable. In some cases, the cost may be too high. Not acting in those situations is smart. Again, girls should not put their physical safety at risk, but they should be trained for vigorous debate and be prepared for nasty behavior. I agree with this. However much we might want people to behave always in a respectful, calm manner, the odds are high that they won't. Seizing the day. College activism isn't something that is normally associated with conservatives. Is that true? I feel like not everybody, but a lot of people, maybe not a lot. I feel like a fair number of people from all political spectrums are active. I feel like there's a chapter for pretty much everything on a college campus, but I could be wrong because unlike Michelle, I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on what goes on college campuses. But campus activism isn't just for feminists. I feel that okay. There are many ways for girls to get involved and everyone can play a part according to her gifts. Conservative speaker event, calendar of activities, prepared to respond to school controversies. There will be risks, but there is a greater risk for the future if they do nothing. There's no better place for young women to engage than in universities. They are ground zero for the culture wars as they mold young minds and release waves of new recruits into society every year. And politics, of course, is downstream from culture. Conservatives have ceded this fertile ground for too long. Now, parents can help by encouraging their daughter to stand up and make a difference. I don't understand this chapter. As I mentioned before, I feel like it has very mixed signals and so much fear-mongering. If Michelle wants your daughters to go to a conservative college, they're still going to be ceding that fertile ground. Anyway, that is it for Chapter 9. I am now going to film Chapter 10. I'm so excited to be done with this book and move on. Please feel free to leave your comments below about what you think about this chapter. And have a great day, and I will see you in the next video.